This is our 5th episode, and I'd like to welcome Linda Dögg Guðmundsdóttir, the Icelandic Cloud Queen. Let's just start there. So on your website, you are called the Icelandic Cloud Queen. Where does that come from?
So I decided I would like to become the first woman in Iceland to get the Microsoft MVP title. And so I figured out, okay, I better make a brand out of it to get me out there, because part of being an MVP, you have to be very out in society, teaching others how to do the tech stuff that you know how to do. Yeah, be open as a speaker and such. And one of the ways to do that is actually to, for example, build a website and a blog or be active on LinkedIn. But I wasn't sure which name I should have, because Linda Dögg Guðmundsdóttir is really hard to pronounce.
For the European and for the American crowd.
Exactly. So I decided to use Copilot and ChatGPT to actually give me like 50 options of names. And then I let my husband pick it.
Okay.
To get him invested in it, right?
Yeah, so I mean, you in cybersecurity at least, and I guess just in tech, you have a lot of these like very dry titles. So it's, I mean, yeah, it requires a bit of a strong ego to go there, I think, in a good way.
Yeah, or just fake it till you make it.
Yeah, that's also...
Yeah, because sometimes I get like really like cringy feeling when I'm saying the name, but I don't care. It's just a part of the game.
But okay, so what does that MVP at Microsoft mean?
It means that you have showed for the past 12 months at least that you're really good at the things that you're doing, really. And you're good at teaching it also, like because it's about being enthusiastic about getting the knowledge out there, not just being the only specialist in that area. So it's really about building up community and providing.
But okay, so a little bit of a background. So you were at Oracle, you're now at KPMG. But what were you doing? Like, what does it mean to be the MVP? Is it a sales thing?
It's about spending your own time. Okay. Like you have to do it on the side. It has to be not because of the organization, but because or the company that you're working for, but actually because of genuine interest in things that you're doing.
Okay. So
and you have to be nominated by another MVP or Microsoft employee to go into the process of applying to become an MVP, and then you're. Like they go through everything that you've done and say if you are allowed to be an MVP or not.
I'm guessing you got it?
Yeah, I did, of course.
Okay.
Of course, no. But I'm very competitive.
Okay, that's really cool. But more maybe about your background. So like where are you from? What got you into cloud and cloud security and cloud stuff?
Well, I studied system admin. I actually studied first art and photography, but then I decided that I would like to become a strong, independent Icelandic woman. Okay. No, I'm kidding. And I decided, like, which education should I take in order to get a good job in the future? And system admin was something that my stepfather actually pointed out that would be something for me. So I just went for it. And yeah, within a year I had my first job at Senso. And I've been working for the past 11 years.
In the IT industry here in Iceland mostly?
Yeah.
Okay, but now you're at KPMG, and from our previous conversations, you have sort of moved more maybe into like the global scene.
Yeah.
So like, how does tech and since this is a security type of thing, how does security differ in Iceland and then with the customers or the clients that you've been talking to?
Yeah, if you look at the Nordics, I'm working a lot with them, and it's very similar in many ways. Like you have also the small SMBs, like the 300 and less users, but you also get the opportunity to work for bigger companies that might be even global. And the scale of the projects are like humongous. We're talking about maybe a project that could take 6 weeks for a small company. To a global, it could be 2 years.
What kind of projects are they?
In Iceland, for example, most of the companies, they just don't have the funding for enhancing security yet. But globally, then they have money for going really into details in everything. So they have the opportunity to go a lot further than we could in Iceland. I switched to KPMG because I would be able to work globally or with the Nordic. But in Iceland, if you're working for a company here, like an MSP company here, there's just limited of specialists. So if you reach a point where you know a lot of things about something, it's difficult to find somebody that maybe you might teach you something.
Yeah, I totally get it. And I think I kind of have 2 points on this. One is just that Iceland sort of, it looks like a mini version of a well-developed market. We only have 3 big banks and you only have a few of these like production companies and a few of these types, but we have most types. Like you say, there's limited opportunity for a growing business or even potentially a growing specialist to, if you only have 3 possible clients or 5 or whatever, then you kind of need to go abroad. And even just in a little bit bigger countries like the Nordics, they're still 15, 20 times larger markets, and you can probably do the math on that. You have that many more companies in specific sectors. And yeah, I find that kind of interesting. The second one was about Icelandic companies, in my experience regarding security. They're like a first-time buyer in a lot of these security solutions.
Yeah.
Except, and there are more exceptions, but like you said, the global companies like KPMG, the big consulting companies, they usually have quite a lot of stuff in place already. So you gave a talk at Ski, which was titled Copilot Leaders versus Copilot Guessers. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that one was mostly just about trying to get the leaders to think about what they need to do when it comes to implementing Copilot. Many companies think it's an IT project, but it's actually a business project. It's not just about implementing technology. It's also about strategy, and it's also about the C-level deciding what are they going to use their money for, which projects are they going to choose rather than the other. It's also about, it's about figuring out why are you investing in that solution.
So why are you investing in a solution in general or in AI solutions?
Yeah, in AI solutions.
Okay.
It's just not just about Copilot, it's just about AI solutions in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's just AI adoption is a huge thing. It is changing the world that, in specifically the IT world, but a lot of other things. But there are because of your title, what's the most a dangerous guess that companies are making when they're starting on these kind of journeys?
Is the data secure? Am I ready for this? That's probably the most dangerous guess, is just thinking that it's okay to start using it, because there's so many companies that are actually just starting to implement it, just buying the licenses and turning it on, and then they have to roll back because they figure out that there's a lot of data leakage within the company.
Okay.
So that's the most common, I would say, problem.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
And they don't know where the data is. That's probably the guessing part. Where is the data?
Okay. So with the use of AI, we're seeing quite a lot of problems. We're seeing, fears regarding hallucination in these LLM models. Depending on what the company is doing, maybe you're hallucinating sensitive data. Maybe you're hallucinating in your answers to the customers.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
So one thing that I am experiencing is that AI is here. It's the future, if you can say that, but it's already here, and employees are already using it, and we're seeing all kinds of threats. One of them is the hallucination, that most of these solutions like ChatGPT and Copilot, they're designed in a way that they should try to answer you. So if they don't know the answer, they're still trying to answer it. So then there will be some hallucination because they start to just say something because they are designed to answer you. That's one of the problems. The second one is also the data itself. Maybe there was some employee that stopped working there for 5 years ago, and he was fired for a reason. His data is still living there,
yeah.
And it's a crappy data. But Copilot doesn't know if it is or shouldn't be used. It's just using the things that you have access to. So that's also a threat, like outdated data or just, low quality data. And
you're talking about so that the models are being trained on bad data being a risk, essentially.
Yeah, it's using bad data. It's not trained on it, but it's using it.
Yeah, I mean, it might still be trained on bad data. It probably is, actually.
Yeah, actually.
I find this kind of interesting because, okay, so like you said, AI is already here and people are already using it, but it's just moving so fast that even if you're an early adopter, you're kind of probably going to miss the train in many regards. And one of the things I think about is like shadow IT. Shadow IT back in the days, we have some technology that IT is using, but the company doesn't formally know about it. But don't you think that there's quite a lot of like shadow AI going on?
It is. Because it's also about, each Copilot agent that employees are creating. That one has to have an identity as well. That's just a part of the, if you call it shadow IT, it's a risk because if you have unlimited access to creating a lot of agents, also you have a lot of agents in your company, and if those employees stop working there, how would you know that this agent is of non-use anymore? Yeah. So you have to have governance over this. It is possible.
Is it possible to actually have good governance?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I guess we can segue into governance then, because I mean, actually, let's stop a little bit. The first thing you said in this sort of chapter of the talk is that companies have to make decisions to use it. It's not an IT thing. It's not an IT problem. It's not even an IT responsibility. But like, whose is it, and what do you do as a company when you're deciding to implement AI, and like where and how do you govern it?
So first of all, you have to decide who's the business owner and who's the technical owner. But that's for every solution that you're using or tool that you're using.
Okay.
And that's lacking in most companies. For example, when I come in to companies and I'm helping them, they have to decide who is going to be leading that Copilot journey. Who is the business owner, who is the technical owner, because they have a responsibility afterwards.
Okay. And in your experience then, what are the companies that you're working with? What challenges are they applying AI to most of the time?
Okay, so what we do is we take like the key employees from each division, and then we get them like in a workshop where we go through just what they're doing each day. We teach them a little bit about what is Copilot and Copilot agents and the possibilities and Power Automate. We also talk about sometimes the way they do things is the problem, and the solution is not just an AI put on top of it. Sometimes we just need to get another tool or start using the tools that they have or just fix the process. So it's not always just AI that's the solution. So we get them to think just what are they doing each day. Then we try to see, okay, what could be automated? What could we build a Copilot agent for? And then what is the bottleneck that they're experiencing? What is the most problematic things that they do each day? And then we figure out like what are the opportunities. And then you have to take those opportunities and you have to bring into the C-level or the managers, and where they have to say, okay, so what is the highest priority right now? What would be the most value? What do we want to invest our money in?
Okay, so you're trying to detect, like you're detecting or trying to find opportunities in a business where you can apply AI. But I'm guessing the biggest buyer of AI is essentially going to be for coding, right? But you're saying it can be kind of anything.
Yeah, it could be for many different things, yeah. But it's low coding versus pro coding. It's coding everybody can do, and there again, for example, you have to limit who is allowed to build those agents. Like you have agents that is just for you personally, in like agent build mode. Everyone can do that, but if you can't let everyone use Copilot Studio, for example, and build their own agents there, like you have to decide who is allowed to do it, who's not allowed to do it. Because you don't want everyone to start building something and maybe you have 3 or 4 different agents that are doing the same thing. So it has to be controlled. And then you have 2 different licenses, for example. You have a premium license in platform, and where you can actually give is like the more expensive license for those that don't know how to code, as those who are not experts. And then you can pre-configure everything around that process. For example, if he's going to create an agent and use Power Platform, then it automatically directs him into a sandbox. But if an experienced employee goes in there, he knows it himself. He doesn't need that control.
Then read examples of those sort of projects. Is it to, I don't know, automate something in the marketing department, or is it in sales, or is it
it's
in
in all
procurement?
division. It's really, for example, it could be a lot of when somebody's applying for something.
Yeah, just applying for a job or something like
Yeah,
that.
it could be for some grant or something. You could automate and use a Copilot agent that takes it reads it, you program it to know what he's supposed to read, what needs to be filled out. And if there's something lacking, then he can send back and say, this is missing. And he can do you can automate that process. And we have done it, and it saves you a lot of time. But you also have a person in the end, and a real person that goes over it. But it saves you a lot of time.
Do you think that, so in my world, which is in the startup world, it's fairly modern technologies. Most of the times we're using just some sort of solutions, central SaaS type solutions for this. But with what you're describing, it sounds like companies have an easier time just kind of creating fairly complicated processes in-house. Do you think that's a change that we're seeing?
Yes, it is, and very easily. It's very easy. You just, for example, describe which kind of agent you would like to build, and it just creates the template for it. So you can just say what you would like, how it's supposed to work and such, and they just built it, and then you can configure it afterwards. So it's becoming very easy. But of course, you also have to test it. You have to test it, have other people testing it as well, because they're going to ask different questions that you are. Exactly. You have to also test it in different applications, because it's going to work different in Word or PowerPoint.
Yeah, so I think that's just, I'm hallucinating now because I'm AI. So I think that this is going to create quite a lot of fragmentation in just how companies do, for example, these application reviews. So every company will have their own agent and their own way of doing it, and that's totally fine. But then if we translate that cybersecurity, I think that, for example, here in Iceland, we have quite a lot of legacy systems that were custom made for some specific purpose. It becomes legacy quite fast. So how do we make sure that this stuff, this sort of process, these methods of working with AI are actually secure? And I think maybe, for example, people talk about zero trust. How do you implement zero trust principles into these sort of, how do you architect these solutions with that in mind?
It all depends if you're building something that's for internal use or if it's for, the customers facing. And right now, most of the companies are focusing on inside the company because the same. I'm having concerns when it comes to building something for the customers because you also have to think about a lot more security. So is somebody going to be spamming it? As in a way, or trying to exploit it. So the first step is always just internally, because that does not leave the company. It's hosted inside. Okay, let's talk about that.
So, probably not, maybe not, but the name of the game is, if you're a hacker, you find a target, and then you're penetrating the external surface to become to get on the inside. And then you want to laterally move between systems, and you're essentially trying to find anything that is either interesting or if it has possibilities to exploit. Again, I don't think it changes that much. I get it, but I just think that this paradigm of saying everything outside the wall is bad and everything inside is good is a little bit dangerous.
No, it's not.
And I'm not saying you're saying it. It's just no.
But it's not everything inside is good. No, not at all. Because you have to just have a basic healthy environment, a secure environment. But when you're using, for example, Copilot, they are using the rules that are already there. So if you have already MFA, conditional access policies and such, you can actually limit those who can use Copilot. If, for example, the user has been flagged as a risky user, you can put up a rule that he cannot use it.
Yeah, okay.
So it's using the same environment, the same access, everything as the same as the user.
Okay, so assuming that the configurations are such that we have a fairly clean internal house, workings of a house, then you're saying that this is potentially safer than, well...
I wouldn't want to say that, of course not, because it always depends. You can use, of course, Purview, for example, to create sensitivity labels, to create data loss policies. You can limit, for example, what Copilot can use and what can't use. You can also, for example, just focus on the data itself. What is sensitive data? You create sensitivity labels for the users to...
So it's like social security numbers and stuff like
for example, but also giving the users opportunity to use it, like saying this is high confidential data or public or something.
So how does it work in practice? Very much in AI land now. So Copilot from AI is fetching data, using data. Purview then what? Omits certain types of data for usage?
You can limit what users can do with the data, for example, with data loss policies. And there you can actually decide, okay, if it's this kind of data, Copilot can't use it. So it doesn't have access to it, or they can't use it. So if you're trying to use that document into Copilot, it can't use it. It just stops it.
Okay, I think that's like very interesting, because I think most companies, and I've probably been guilty of this, you start using something like ChatGPT, just right off the shelf, and then you probably start uploading stuff into it, which could be complete data, and you absolutely, you cannot do that. But that's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
and it brings us back a little bit into the shadow IT, shadow AI IT type of thing.
But from that, I would like to say that it's very important to acknowledge that your users are going to use AI. So you have to decide which AI tool they're going to use and make it secure. That's like the number one priority. So whether you're going to use Copilot or something else, like you should decide if you're waiting for too long and the users are already using something else.
Yeah, and already leaking your company data all over the place.
It happens all the time.
Okay.
And the difference there is I use ChatGPT myself as well as other tools, but it's very important to also know how are you using it. And
it's just a completely new take on awareness, security awareness training because of this AI thing. Actually, I have a follow-up question on this. What's one truth about cybersecurity that most vendors or customers are too afraid to tell their customers?
We are all human, and after working for the past 20 years or such, you get to understand that there's a lot of people that don't know how to do their job.
And actually, I think
that's for everyone, I think.
But even if they know how to do their job, I think many people just, if you've been in the industry, been in software development, and had to make shortcuts. And I think, for example, for cybersecurity specialists, if they don't have the experience having to take shortcuts and, knowing where to stash their secrets, they're missing that element when they're transitioning over to being like a cybersecurity expert.
Definitely.
And IT as well.
But there's also another thing, like most startup companies, they don't have the funding to actually make everything secure. So really,
I agree.
most, at least that I know of. So they start, they're just using all of the money and developing the product. But when are they going to stop, before it becomes a monster and then go back into securing everything?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think most things are built, from a horrible ground. Probably,
at least in the sort of earlier rounds and also with not that much funding. I've been surprised by the sort of the American startups. They have access to so much money. They can establish security teams and AI teams and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a different playing field. Maybe besides Microsoft, which we've talked about a little bit, what's one security tool, open source or otherwise, that you can't live without?
ChatGPT and Copilot, all those AI tools to tell me that I'm doing a great job and keep going.
Has that become the most important tool in your tool chest?
I would probably say that because they would tell me where to look.
Yeah.
So which tool would the best cybersecurity expert in the world use? And then I can start to look at that at least. But I know it's all like you have to be skeptic.
Yeah.
But still, like, really, like you have to use something like that to help you keep going. But I know that you're asking for some other tool, but that's probably the one that I could not live without.
Yeah, but I
Because
think
I could probably switch
it's
everything else out.
It's an honest answer, and I just agree. And because we are in this sort of like IT world, I don't even know what I would say to people who say, are you using ChatGPT? No, what's that? What would you even say to a person like that? Okay, so what's the next big thing in cloud security?
We just go with the flow, I think. Just trying to make everything secure, right? It's difficult. It's so super fast evolving. Like, there was one question there that was like, so what got you into it, like into cybersecurity? And honestly, there has been times where I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be in this industry because it just stresses me out. And it, like, when you know that everything can break, everything almost can be hacked. I'm not going to say totally, but still, then you start to get a little bit worried.
Yeah, I also think so. But like another angle on this kind of question would be like, what's the next big thing, next big bad thing, especially with this AI?
I'm always afraid that everything could just go down a little bit, or just having catastrophic events, because we are in a vulnerable state.
I think, for example, this idea of data leaking, huge data sets type of stuff, that's something that worries me. I'm a little bit worried about also, well, there are so many vendors that, bad MFA technologies, like using SMS as a second factor, and you have ways of stealing phone numbers, even silently. That worries me quite a lot. And in context of AI, I think just the ability to do security testing as a bad actor, you can do it so fast. I haven't really seen so far AI pen testing finding anything like super tricky, but they're finding it really fast. And a few years ago, it would be that there's what was it called, the Java vulnerability, Blue something. Do you remember? Anyway, there's one.
Not when you put me on spot.
One of these big vulnerabilities in the past recent years.
Oh yeah.
You'd start seeing traces of somebody testing it, and Iceland was fairly safe for 1 or 2 days. But now with the advent of AI and these agents, you can assume that the testing is going to be done, or the threats or the attacks are done like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that worries me quite a bit. So I think the next big thing is going to be like a really widespread attack like that.
I'm a little bit worried though. But it is. And there's a lot of, AI is evolving, and also the threats as well. And also, I don't know, it's just, I kind of worry about Iceland in general, because we're so small that we should rather just focus on helping each other. Making everything secure instead of competition, because we have so few specialists. So I would really like, rather than everyone trying to figure everything out themselves, and specialists working at different companies trying to figure everything out themselves, that we would just help each other, because there's enough projects, I would say.
For somebody listening then and wanting to help out in that, how do we make more cloud queens and kings?
I would say it would have to come from the government.
From the government?
I would say that. No, I would say that because if you look at NATO, we could use that funding that you have to in just helping the companies to become more secure, saying how to do it and teach how to do it.
Okay.
It wouldn't be that hard as well if we would just teach each other how to do it.
Okay, but
their knowledge. If you would, if the government would hire specialists that's really good at doing the job, or it would be just like a council. If you think about it, like you have a council of like the best practices, or just recruiting from different MSP companies, recruiting those that are really good at it, and they come up with ways like best practices how to do it, and then companies could get funding to implement that.
I'm all for making things more secure, although I don't know how that will affect my revenue or our revenue, but still, I'm all for it.
We can target for the global, but
yeah.
So it's, as I said, it's a little bit like, I worry, because there's a lot of companies here in Iceland that we need to secure, and they maybe just don't have the funding for it. They don't have the money for it. The MSP companies, they're not doing a volunteer job, like they have to make some income.
Yeah.
So they have to think about business. So I don't know. I would just really like that we could somehow help each other to make Iceland secure.
And actually, maybe one of the last questions then is, the companies, they're not doing volunteer work. They need revenue, they need to grow. And I don't think that many C-level people actually care about cybersecurity that much. They care because they have to, and they care because it's a threat or it's a risk. But what would be maybe your advice to C-suite people trying to understand how they talk about security and why they should care about it?
First of all, they have to see the outcome, like what would happen. But most of the C-level, they're also just reactive. Like if it's not a real threat right now, like if they don't see it as a real threat right now, they're not going to do anything about it. But I have seen a change in it. I have seen that the C-level is starting to think more about security. There has been a lot of talk about it, and that is a little bit working, I would say. When other companies are being hacked, they are coming to the news and talking about it, and that also helps. Especially when they hire also a person that is enthusiastic about it, that also helps. But the biggest change that I saw was actually when Copilot was rolled out. Is because as soon as it started to affect them personally, might the employee see something that I was writing, or could they see some sensitive information from myself? Then they started to think about data security. And
I think with these frameworks like NIS and DORA, they're making the C-suite people personally and legally liable. And I think that's a strong incentive, because what does a CEO care about? They care about the well-being of the company, of course, but of course they care also about themselves, and those two things are related. One of my predictions is that, when NIS is fully implemented, NIS 2 is fully implemented, we will see a rise in cyber insurance. And then in order to lower the premium on the cyber insurance, we'll see some action taken towards actually being a little bit more secure. But it's also motivated that way.
Yeah, I'm also very excited. I thought it was a good change, but not all companies are going to be underneath that.
No.
They don't have to think about it. So it's just like some
critical infrastructure and their vendors.
Exactly. So it's not covering everyone, not at all. And not even many companies or institutions that should be, at least, also thinking about it. But I'm also worried about it because, they're going to find ways how to do it, just the bare minimum, if you understand me. Just a check mark, So is it going to be really making it more secure? So that's one way. And also, they have to do certain things every year. For example, pen testing. Then they have to buy that service. They have to make also physical penetration tests. So they have to buy these things because they can't do it themselves. So again, when it comes to money, I'm always thinking, how is it going to be done?
Okay.
So I don't know. It's just when it comes to very important infrastructure, I'm just thinking it should be done the best way possible. It shouldn't be.
One way is to make it cheaper. Maybe AI will help us make it cheaper.
Yeah, could be. Hopefully.
I mean, pen tests are really expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
So where can listeners find you on the internet?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Linda 1337.
That's the best way to reach you.
I think so. Icelandic Cloud Queen.
You can find this episode on Spotify and YouTube. And thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.